Okay, so today is Friday, July 12th, 2024. This, of course, is the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. So another week has come to an end, and here's what I think is going to happen. If and when we officially get approved for listing in the Puro Earth registry, to the extent we're able to sell our carbon credits, be it in the forward market or otherwise, it seems to me as if though the game plan is to then use whatever revenue is generated from the sale of those carbon credits to essentially reduce our net cost of power. And as a result of reducing our net cost of power, we then can turn around and presumably make an argument as to why we should, perhaps buy more Bitcoin mining machines. Not necessarily the latest and greatest, but certainly something that's going to be below 32 joules per terahash, which is our current fleet-wide average, right? Certainly there are, I believe it's like 2,500 Bitcoin mining machines, that are in the fleet as we speak, that are substantially above 32 joules per terahash. So, there's opportunity basically to make the fleet more efficient. Now, why am I saying this? How am I coming to this conclusion? Well, I revisited the carbon capture presentation that Stronghold Digital Mining made in December of 2023. I went through that very, very carefully. And it really does seem as if though we're making the argument, right? Hey, we can have probably if not one of maybe the lowest net cost of power in the industry, right? So we're either going to be right there with a couple of other players that have really, really low costs of power, or we may very well be the absolute lowest, sort of like cost of power producer, for lack of a maybe more elegant way of describing it. Sorry about that. So what does that mean then? I mean, it really means that we're setting ourselves up to continue to be in the Bitcoin mining business, which makes sense if one, sort of believes, hey, Stronghold Digital Mining is bullish on Bitcoin. I mean, it's kind of hard not to be bullish on Bitcoin and be a Bitcoin mining company, or at least to be somewhat bullish on hash rate. I was taking a look at some computations, and really, we need the price of Bitcoin to basically double to get hash prices up to maybe the roughly between 8 to 10 cent range, right? I don't foresee the network hash rate dropping dramatically from where we are right now. So then it's a matter of, okay, if the price of Bitcoin doubles, will the network hash rate very quickly grow so as to sort of chip away at the benefit of Bitcoin's price having gone up? And I think given the reality that, yes, there are a lot of Bitcoin mining machines that have been ordered, certainly by various publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, right? But, where do those machines get plugged in? And this is something that has come up over and over again, and I think it's becoming more of an issue because, sure, hey, what if I had unlimited capital, so to speak, right? And I want 100 exahash of Bitcoin mining equipment. Some of the key players in the Bitcoin mining machine marketplace have said, yes, Stephen, we can get you 100 exahash worth of Bitcoin mining machines. Okay, great. They get delivered. Where do I plug them in? I mean, we're talking about, right, a substantial amount of infrastructure that's required to plug these machines in. And while it's true that Bitcoin is a global, phenomena, so to speak, right? That you could have Bitcoin mining machines coming online other parts of the world, not just in the United States. But insofar as, hey, where's all the capital required to buy these machines? Unless you have some sovereign wealth funds that decide to get into the game, a lot of this is sort of seemingly coming from publicly traded US-based mining companies, right? Where it's like, hey, we just sold $1 billion worth of stock and we're going to use that $1 billion, so to speak, right, to buy Bitcoin mining machines. Issue is, where do you plug them in? So I think there's an opportunity. I mean, if we're going to look at this from a constructive, maybe, like opportunistically positive perspective, the opportunity here is that maybe as we get into the autumn, the price of Bitcoin doubles, if not more. And that the, Bitcoin network hash rate doesn't really catch up that quickly. And as a result, you have a bit of a window where super low-cost producers such as Stronghold Digital Mining have an opportunity to really potentially reap some, dare I say, windfall profits, right? If you're able to have a really robust Bitcoin mining infrastructure, which we kind of already do have, but that I think arguably, right, we could have a more efficient fleet, right? Based on Q1 2024, our first quarter report, right? Our investor presentation report, it showed, hey, we had a fleet-wide average efficiency of 32 joules per terahash. That's on the high side. I mean, what if we could drop that down to at least, say, the low 20s, right? So another way to perhaps generate more profit is if your cost of power are dramatically lower. And I think this is the angle, we're trying to come at this from both angles, really. How do we drop our net cost of power, which, right, the carbon capture project will help do? And how do we make our fleet more efficient, right? Our Bitcoin mining fleet more efficient. Now, what sort of does get admittedly a little bit lost in the shuffle is, okay, but we have other costs, right? Our net cost of power, as it's computed, does not take into consideration all the costs associated with running our business. So, again, these are challenging decisions that need to be made. But insofar as the carbon capture project, upon looking at our carbon capture presentation from December 2023 with a fresh perspective, right, just looking at it after not having looked at it for a little while, it really does seem clear that at least as of the time that we made that presentation, the intent is to say, hey, any money we bring in, be it through private carbon credit sales in the private market, the voluntary market, or anything that comes in as a result of the Inflation Reduction Act, 45Q subsection of that act, any money that comes in, from a computational perspective, we're going to use it to essentially lower our net cost of power. And that new number, that newly generated net cost of power, will be what we use to make decisions as to how we energize, rather not energize the data center, but like what kind of equipment do we choose to have in the data center, and what numbers do we publish insofar as our net cost of power, because that's a big deal, right? Within the publicly traded Bitcoin mining ecosystem, if I could say, hey man, I could mine Bitcoin for like almost no money, that's kind of interesting and compelling. Yes, it kind of ignores a lot of other numbers, but it's still a big deal in this industry, or so it seems. So our ability to really have a low number when it comes to net cost of power is going to be really useful. So first, we need to be approved by the Puro Earth registry. Then we need to have a buyer for these carbon credits. Maybe that's something we're kind of behind the scenes working on already, so that plausibly, and this is kind of the grand conclusion of today's update, so that plausibly, if all these pieces are in place, we know that we're going to get approved by the registry, which do we really know ahead of time? Probably not. But to the extent we get the notification, what if we can then put out a news release that simultaneously announces, hey, we just got approved for the Puro Earth registry. By the way, we have a buyer already lined up for X number of carbon removal credits in the voluntary market. By the way, this is going to be our strategy for deploying, right, carboliths to both Scrubgrass, fully deploying them at Scrubgrass and then deploying them at Panther Creek. Maybe if there is a boost in the stock price as a result of this news, right at the same time, the company also sells shares vis-a-vis their, at the market offering mechanism, or some new permutation of a mechanism to sell shares, right? So as to raise additional capital to pursue some of these growth initiatives. I know there's a lot of moving pieces there, but let's keep it super real. I think today's volume was like under 300,000 shares. I mean, there's not a lot of volume to our stock price. Yes, I believe it was up today. That's good. But my point is, I can't imagine raising $50 million or even, $10 million with an ATM where there's like literally no volume and the stock price is like sub $4 a share. It just seems like a losing battle. You'd be pushing your own stock price lower, which then necessitates the more stock being sold to raise the same amount of money. It becomes very quagmired. So again, there's a lot of very challenging but important decisions that we as a business have to make. And I hope and pray that we make the very best decisions that we're able to make. And then once those decisions are made, I certainly will support them, because at the end of the day, we need to make decisions, follow through, execute, and do the very best we can, But needless to say, it's a very, I think, tricky time to be, dare I say, invested in this company. It feels more like a radical speculation in this company, right? A gamble, as I like to say, certainly for me, or a trade. Yes, the stock might pop if and when we get listed on Puro Earth. Does it get immediately subdued, though, because we're right there as a company selling shares into the market, because there may be additional volume as a result of that news, and we sell shares into the market to fund various operations, including buying more Bitcoin mining machines. Let's just hope the price of Bitcoin actually goes up. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm phrasing it slightly differently this time. I was exposed to Bitcoin first within the context of commerce. I have grown to accept that it is not evidently anymore, right, a tool for commerce, but rather a collectible. I just hope this collectible can double in price so that we see hash prices that are far more sustainable, not just for Stronghold Digital Mining, but for the entire publicly traded Bitcoin mining ecosystem. Okay, my friend, I hope you are doing well. It's good to chat with you. We will reunite, I think, at some point over the weekend. So until then, let's stay positive, let's be great, and we'll speak to each other again soon.